We've had a few verses recently on how our everyday realities are characterized by momentariness, how they come and go. There is the idea that our everyday realities are momentary and therefore temporary, and the reality of spiritual insight, wisdom, is somehow permanent. Nirvana is permanent. Samsara is not. This is the understanding. Now, there's quite a subtle distinction I feel must be made here. According to the spiritual romance, once you hit nirvana, that's it, you're enlightened. End of story. But I would say this is not the case. The main thread of these videos is actually that of enlightenment practice. Enlightenment is a practice. Enlightenment is the practice of still awareness. This is awareness which is not expressing itself in the form of the fleeting attention. And this awareness does have a timeless aspect and could indeed be described as permanent. But the realization of it is not permanent. As soon as we engage with the world, as soon as we talk to somebody else, we're not in that awareness. We are no longer enlightened. And I would say that the Buddha, anytime he was talking to somebody, was no longer enlightened. It's possible he's enlightened in between the gaps in the conversation, in between the spaces. But inasmuch as he has to acknowledge somebody and interact with them, then he's not enlightened. This might seem like I'm quibbling, but if we have this idea of enlightenment as some kind of seventh heaven or cloud 9 that we want to inhabit, but that doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Enlightenment is a practice, it's a training. It's the nature of consciousness to come and go. It's the nature of consciousness to fall asleep and awaken. Unfortunately, the condition of most of us is that of consciousness asleep. But we can awaken. And we can make the effort to awaken. Once there's been an initial awakening. But then it goes, and it's our job as enlightenment practitioners to come back, to awaken at every opportunity. So this awakening does have a timeless, eternal quality to it. But it has to keep being resorted to. This is our practice. This is the art of living. Now, the next two verses are about the Samkhya philosophy, and I'm not quite sure why they're here. The Samkhya philosophy is a very ancient, profound Hindu philosophy, and I think there's some very deep wisdom in it. Buddhism, though, is a distinct phenomenon, and it's quite different from yoga, from Hindu yoga. Although you might see lots and lots of overlaps and connections. It's quite nice from our point of view to see the connections between things, and I personally don't differentiate the wisdom found in Buddhism to the wisdom found in some of the Hindu texts, which is why you'll find videos on both Buddhist and Hindu text in this channel. It seems to cause some confusion for people. But that's not the problem. My concern is the wisdom which these texts point to. So let's just have a quick look at these verses on the Samkhya philosophy. They don't seem to be being critical, but let's have a look. Verse 830. The Samkhya philosophy is twofold. There is transformation owing to primary matter. In primary matter there is action, and action is self-originating. So the Samkhya philosophy is twofold. It's dualistic. There is consciousness and there is matter. Consciousness is the Purusha, and matter is Prakriti. And Prakriti here is the primary matter. And it's important to point out that Prakriti also includes the mind and all aspects of the mind. So it's not matter as we might normally understand it. It is everything which we call the world, including our thoughts, our feelings, our sensibilities. So this is important. So in this there's action, and this action is self-originating. So Prakriti is the world of cause and effect. Verse 831, primary matter, that's Prakriti, is with all existing beings, and qualities are regarded as differentiated. Various are effects and causes. No transformation takes place. Well, this seems to contradict the previous verses, which says there is transformation owing to primary matter. And now we're told that no transformation takes place. I suspect what's happening here is the author is entering into the Samkhya philosophy and expressing the Buddhist insight through it. The Buddhist insight being that there is actually no transformation taking place, because all this cause and effect is, as verse 828, which was covered in the previous video, said, it's like the city of Gandharvas, it's Maya-like forms. So I think this is the contrast between the Buddhist insight and the Samkhya understanding. It takes this physical world, the world of matter and of our minds and sensibilities, as real, whereas for Buddhist insight we have to understand this so-called world of matter as not real, so that we can step back from it and realize the nature of pure consciousness, which is Purusha. Although another contrast with Buddhist understanding is that this Purusha, well, there are many of them. This is certainly not the Buddhist understanding. And the Buddhist understanding is expressed in the next verse, 832. As quicksilver is pure and not soiled by dirt, so is the Alaya pure, being the seat of all sentient beings. So this is the contrast. The Alaya is consciousness. There isn't more than one. It's the seat of all sentient beings. It's essentially pure. We don't realize it by trying to purify the dirt. We realize it by going beyond the dirt. We come once again to the nature of awareness, the awareness which is hearing this, the awareness which is looking at the video, the awareness which is experiencing whatever is going on. This is pure. When we come back to this awareness, it is no longer being projected outwards in the form of the attention. That's the dirt. So we leave the world behind. Although in leaving it behind, we realize that it no longer exists. And we can rest in it.